Hello and welcome to Tech with Heart. I am your host, Michelle Calloway, and Tech with Heart is all about empowering entrepreneurs, small business owners to succeed in a digital era where technology and systems and strategies need to be taught and shared so that they can all thrive and excel in a digital environment. Today's topic is the essence of selling for small businesses. And with me, I have a very special guest. His name is Georgescott, and he is an adjunct college instructor, and he also holds a master's of business administration, and he knows the insides and the outsides of business. He's been able to work with hundreds of small businesses to really get a close look at what makes them successful and what makes some businesses fail. And isn't that what we all want to know? Like, I don't want to fail, right? You put all your effort, all your life into your business. You don't want to fail. So he is a small business consultant, but he's also his own business owner. So he really knows both sides of the coin here as far as what it takes to make things really work. And he's going to talk to us about sales. So with that, I just really excited to have Georgescott on the Tech with Heart stage. Help me welcome him. Take it away, George.
Michelle, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to share some thoughts and insights with you and your listeners as we proceed through the conversation today.
Perfect.
So,
yes. Let's roll right on in. I'm going to go ahead and ask you a few questions, and let's just take this and see where it goes, because what do you believe, or how can you describe what the essence of selling is?
the essence of selling can be boiled down to 8 words: find or create a need, and then fill it. That's it.
That's it.
That's
okay.
it.
Find a need and fill it. Okay. So what about
Find or create a need and then fill it.
Create a need?
Yeah. One or the
Cool.
other.
So the idea here is to fill a need. That's the essence of selling. If you want to be good at selling, you need to know what the need is and figure out how you can uniquely fill it.
Correct.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about the different types of sales that there are.
There's different types. There's tangible and intangible. Tangible selling is an actual item of some sort that is made, and that's being sold business to B2C or B2B. Whereas intangible is frequently talking about service businesses, where such as let's say somebody has an office, is looking for commercial cleaning services that you can't really touch the cleanliness, but it creates an aura of cleanliness. That's an intangible.
Okay, so we've got product or service, basically, right?
Right. Tangible product, intangible service.
Exactly. So when it comes to the world of web, we are talking about service-based sales or like e-commerce sales. E-commerce would be product-based, correct?
Correct.
Right. You think of like Amazon sells products, a lot of shopping carts, right? That would be a product-based type of a web platform for selling.
Absolutely. And for some businesses, that's a key to their success.
Exactly. Yeah. So we are going to move a little bit more into tech talk towards the end of this interview, but I know that you also talked about when we first were discussing what we're going to talk about today, you shared with me that there's different types of salespeople. So maybe you can describe what types of salespeople there are.
Well, there's unprofessional salespeople and there's professional salespeople. What differentiates the two is the unprofessional salesperson uses a push strategy. The professional salesperson uses a pull strategy.
So could you share a little bit more of what you mean by that?
Sure. A push strategy is where the comment of the person trying to make the sale is focusing on the benefits to the salesperson. For example, if somebody was trying to sell you a pen and they wanted you to buy this pen, right? I want you to buy this pen because once you do, I will earn an award and also be able to put food on the table for the family, and the boss will be happy. Nowhere in there is any benefits to the purchaser mentioned. The pull strategy is what used to be called the needs assessment. So, for example, if to use that, and we go back to talking about the pen, I would ask you, Michelle, in conversations like this, do you take notes? Let's assume you say yes. Then I would say, do you take notes using your computer? Or do you take notes the old school way, pen and paper? Let's assume you said pen and paper. Then I'd say, do you use a pencil or pen? Use a pen, right? Does the color and or thickness of the pen matter to you, or the fact that it writes under pretty much all conditions? Well, all the above, right? Well, let me introduce you to, and this is where, in that second, is the pull strategy, so that if for some reason that you had said you don't take notes, you don't use a pen and paper, and it has to, if you did use a pen and paper, but the pen would have to be a certain color and a certain size, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If I can't fill that need of yours, then there's no need to even bring it up. We talk about the weather, maybe something else.
So
That
that's
making sense?
No, actually, I really enjoyed the fact that you painted a picture, a scenario. I think that that's a really great way to help small business owners learn, is to like give a for instance, and I really appreciated that. So I always say, because I'm all about visibility and raising businesses' visibility online. And one of the things that you mentioned, or right out the gate, was the essence of selling is to fill a need. And so the pushy type of sales that you talked about, it's all like so focused on making sales and looking at people as dollar signs rather than really like assessing their need for whatever it is you have to sell. I think it's just so key. And if you really want to be the kind of small business owner that you have others just ranting and raving about you, it's not going to be coming from that pushy perspective. Wouldn't you agree?
Totally agree. Totally.
About the value. Can you talk about meeting people's needs and then being of value? Can you speak to a little bit of that, like psychology and strategy?
Well, there's two types of motivation with people in general, whether it's to buy a service or a product, or to do anything. And that one is intrinsic and the other is extrinsic. Extrinsic is the boss says, you got to hit your quota. It's 2 days before the end of the month and you're 75% of the way there. Probably not going to get too much sleep until one, the month ends, or two, hit the quota. And so that's extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic is you've got to, okay, you welcome the challenge. You've got a few possible clients and customers in the pipeline, and you're pretty confident come the end of the month, you're going to be there, but you're going to increase the chance of success by going in a couple hours earlier than you normally would, and maybe staying a couple hours later than you normally would. And that's, again, the motivation coming from the outside or motivation coming from the inside.
So when it comes to selling, some people hate the word selling. And so another thing that you can do is flip it into, like, if you go for the needs assessment type of a pull strategy, essentially what you're doing as the business owner is you're informing and influencing a sale. Could you speak a little bit more to that, and what is the ability to close those types of sales, that strategy and that approach versus the push?
Sure. A pull strategy, when used properly, really don't have to close. The prospect turns himself into a customer / client themselves. Not 100% of the time, but most of the time. A gentle nudge might be what's needed to get them to bring out their credit card, checkbook, whatever the dynamics are for the selling situation going on. Now, one of the ways of providing and motivating that intrinsic motivation for the prospect to become a buyer is to ask the series of questions, make note of them. When you're nearing the point at which you would close for the sale, you might want to just review that here's, as I understand it to be, 3 requirements for you to make this purchase. 1, 2, 3. And the person says, yes. Actually, you're using the Socratic Method. The Socratic Method is using a question or a series of questions to which the prospect can readily agree, and they ask a concluding question based on those agreements, and you'll get the response that you're seeking. That was first shared with me in November of 1975, back when I had hair and it was dark. I have found that to be true ever since then. And if somebody can reach the point where they are comfortable with providing that value added insight, just like you go into Costco on Saturday, I believe it is, they have a number of stations where you get samples of what they're selling on the end cap or just down the aisle or whatever the circumstances may be. And that's essentially priming the pump. And given that 84% of all purchases are impulse purchases, that who knows, you went into the store not anticipating making a purchase, and you come out and how do we spend $150? We were figuring on only spending 50, right? They're very good at what they do. So it's providing added value up to a point to cause them to be internally motivated to say then, okay, George, how do you accept payment? And when they ask that question, it's golden.
Being able to do business online is crucial for survival, especially during times of social distancing. So how do you survive and thrive in the sea of digital noise? It's a lot like fishing. You need to know who your perfect customer is so that you could use the right kind of lure to attract them. We help you catch your perfect customer and retain them for future sales through highly converting websites, influencer mobile apps, getting you featured in the news and on TV. Hi, my name is Jerry Bowden, U.S. Army veteran and president of Revelio Software Solutions. Our goal is to help you rise above the competition, be seen as an expert authority in your industry, and embrace technology to stay competitive for long-term success. It's more affordable than you may think. So reach out to us at revelio.com, and together we will make your business come alive.
Yes, I love getting, you've done it right when they say, okay, I want this so bad. How do I make this happen? And you just like, oh, okay. So that's actually where we wanted to go next too, is talk a little bit about the technologies that are available to all small business owners, some for free, some for very nominal fees, to be ready to collect that money or to have that invoice ready to hit send. If it's a larger item, invoices are really a good way to go. So let's talk about that, George. Let's just say You've asked the right questions. You got a good response. There's a couple other things we'll talk about later when it comes to scheduling with calendars that you can ask qualifying questions about. But let's first talk about, okay, you got somebody on a Zoom call. You've been able to have a good conversation back and forth. You've done the needs assessment. They're ready to buy. What are some tools that you would like to share that, to help business owners close those deals right then and there?
Well, first thing a business owner should do is have the ability to accept credit card payments. For example, I can process payments for credit cards for what I do, and the system I use is what's used by credit. MSU, FCU, Federal Credit Union, here in the Lansing area. I've been with them for 7 years now, and it's strongly recommended, because once they decide to spend money with you, whatever that dollar amount is and whatever the service or product is that they're purchasing, you want to process that payment like that. Not that you're only money oriented. I'm saying it's just as easy to talk oneself out of a sale than it is to get to that point other than wanting to make a purchase. Now, depending on the circumstances, is if they say, well, send me an invoice, I will pay the invoice. Well, a couple different approaches there. One, I've seen some people make their own invoices on Excel. It's an option. Another one is QuickBooks. QuickBooks has a number of different versions. I have nothing to do with them, by the way, but I've seen tangentially number of businesses I'm working with, how it's been used. QuickBooks has been used very proactively and productively for various businesses. It can generate an invoice if that's the way the relationship is going with that new client / customer, send it out. Also, you want to make sure that you decide on whether you take a cash or accrual accounting basis. The reason for that is a business owner needs to know the numbers for their business. And what's meant by that is various businesses in various industries have certain numbers. So if you have something like QuickBooks or an equally efficient and easy to use program, then you can make sure that your records are up to date. If you are your own bookkeeper, you may want to set aside an hour to 2 hours each week, or have somebody. There's a lot of virtual assistants out there who can do that for you, so that you as the business owner are focusing on generating the dollars, and somebody else can take care of the administration of sending out the invoice. So that's a couple different things. One, tracking your numbers through however you wish to track them, but the important thing is track them. Secondly, make it as easy as possible for them to make a payment. Some businesses have a payment section right on their website. Other times they'll do it just on a case-by-case basis. A lot depends on what the business is and what the product or service is that's being sold.
So one of the things I've seen too is that if you make it so easy, like they're so excited to capture that emotion, because a lot of purchases are emotionally driven, is to be able to even just share your screen real quick and show them how you're going to essentially enter the payment information with them by creating an account. Like I have a platform on my Revelio side, which is my for-profit business, and I want to capture that energy and that excitement. So rather than me just sending them the link to go do it themselves, I actually might walk them through the process if they're open to doing that right then and there, just to get them going. And then it also makes them feel warm and held through the process, because that right there is kind of almost like the first onboarding session. Is like, okay, we're going to do this together. Let's go in here and let's just set this up. Or if you are going to invoice them, I also suggest that perhaps you just say, hey, just give me 2 minutes, let me get this ready and let me hit send. And then you're going to be able to click on that button and enter your credit card in the invoice right then and there. Or, like he was saying, have the ability to gather their information and make the purchase right then and there. Somehow make it so seamless and easy, whatever systems you're going to use, so that you're not having any lag or delay. Because when people are ready to buy, it's like, that's why Amazon's crushing it, right, George? They made the one-click buy happen, like one click, boom. Yes, make it easy, easy peasy. The easier you make it, the better results you'll have. Would you agree?
Oh, totally agree. Totally agree. Somebody's willing to spend money with you. Help them move it from their pocket to your pocket as easily and quickly as possible.
Let's talk a little bit about some of those questions that we need to ask. So let's just say you have not met with the person yet, but before you give them your free time for free consultation, if that's what you're offering, perhaps you can ask just a few questions of them before they schedule time with you. Like, are they the decision maker of the company? Can you talk about just a few questions that you might want to identify before you actually meet with them? So that way, if you do get to that point where you've more or less influenced their buying decision in a positive way and they say yes, that they are the ones who held those decisions in their hands.
Sure. In the buying process, regardless of whether it's a business or service or product or service, that there can be as many as a handful of people involved. Somebody may have the authority to approve it, but won't be using it. Let's say the owner of a business is buying some new computers with enhanced capabilities for his team of 6 people who are his administrative staff. Okay, he'll probably use it, but he probably has his own laptop. He or she has his own laptop and is comfortable with that. Then there's a person who does research. There's a person who makes the recommendation to the person who has the authority to say yes or no. And then it's who are the end users? Going back to the example I just mentioned, if the owner is buying new computers for his administrative staff, then may want to have one or more of those 6 people in on the process of considering which model and which capabilities to have. So then with each, when the salesperson reaches that point, it's good to have where it makes sense to do so without it being overpowering, is to have a upfront screening process in terms of why that person or the potential client and customer wants to speak with you. In my case, I help people either fix their business, grow their business, or sell their business. I always ask, why are we talking? So whichever way that they say of the 3, then the conversation goes in that direction because different things are said. So that for somebody who is looking to sell their service or their product to others who want to make the purchase, have them ask the vetting questions so that there's a better feel and matching where it makes sense that a match can be made between the product and service and the desire or need of the buyer.
You could also do those. You could actually ask a few of those qualifying questions, like, why are we meeting? And are you the owner, or are you the decision maker? Are you the one is able to make buying decisions? You can ask some of those questions in like 1 or 2 questionnaires, just fields on a scheduling app. Like Calendly offers it, but I'm not going to push Calendly because there's so many other competitors out there. It's just the scheduling calendar software that you use, you want to have that ability to ask those qualifying questions. It's going to save you a bundle of time. And it's going to really help your closing rate too, because you obviously want to be sitting with the one who does have those abilities, those decision, the power, of the small business. Let's move away real quick to George. We're running a little low on time, so let's go ahead and let people know, do you offer a free consultation, and how can they reach out to you to talk a little bit about their business with you?
Well, thank you. There's no charge until we sign an agreement. There's been instances where there's been 1, 2, 3, 4 conversations that have occurred before we shake hands and walk away, or we shake hands and move forward together. I can be reached at email, georgescott at businessconsultingsolutions-llc.com, or I can be reached at my cell phone, area code 585-732-6908.
Thank you, George, for that, because it is good to know that you don't just get one free consultation. Maybe there's a need for a second or third conversation, and that's really great to know. So what is one thought or phrase when it comes to selling online or offline, just as for small business owners? What's a thought or phrase that you would like to leave impressioned upon those that are tuning in right now?
So use the technology to your advantage. If you Google a business, you're probably going to end up getting their website. But if they were mentioned in a news story or a trade publication or something like that, that gives you further insight, so that the salesperson can tailor their comments and questions to that particular business. And there's a ton of information that is available through the internet and through the various sources. I recommend to everybody, make full use of it, not to become bogged down by doing your homework with each potential client, but doing a sufficient and appropriate amount of homework so that you go in warm or hot, the conversation that you have with the potential buyer.
No, that's a really good point, because the more relatable you are when you first meet with them, and you show that you actually have taken a 1 or 2 minutes to just do a quick little research into who they are, or maybe even some common interests. Wow, that goes so far in that conversation. All right, George, thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to reach out to those of you who are tuning in. If you are a small business owner and you struggle with embracing technology, or you just want to provide a warm, nurturing environment and immerse yourself in there where we can grow alongside one another, along forward-thinking, but yet heart-centered and innovative individuals, I encourage you to join our network. It's called techwithheartnetwork.com. And we would love to have you come and join and share your valuable insight around your area of expertise, while also gleaning and being nurtured along the way to grow your small business by learning tips, tricks, and strategies and systems and technologies that are going to take you and just help you launch and grow your business. And if you're also a business expert and you would like to be featured on the Tech with Heart show as a leader in your industry, and you have valuable insights to share with our small business audience, we also want to hear from you. Go to techwithheartnetwork.com and just reach out to us and let us know what you'd like to talk about. Let's take things to the next level for all involved. Let's help small businesses thrive and grow online. And here is to your success.
Your story needs to be seen and heard, and your brand needs to be revealed. Revealio elevates purpose-driven businesses into the spotlight through video storytelling, augmented reality video marketing, and professional website design. Get discovered online or in the news. Be featured in national magazines, or host your own TV, podcast, or live radio show. Together, we make your brand come alive. All it takes is Revealio. Visit Revealio.com to get started today. Minority and service disabled veteran owned.